If there's any food in the house, I eat it, so we run out of food quickly.
Jesus.
So when Tim's at work and we're out, the only way I can eat is to go get it myself. I can't wait all day for him to get home.
To be fair, right?
Going to get food is almost the only thing that gets me out of the house.
Staying mobile.
This is your friendly fat reminder to tell you that this right here, actually, it's not called a fupa. This is a belly. And I'm a big bitch who weighs over 300 pounds, and I happen to have a big belly. And there's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with being fat.
You sure about that? You sure about that? You sure about that? What is your ideal guy in 2023?
Tall, dark, handsome, and makes a lot of money.
How much? How much a year?
500K.
500K a year?
Yeah.
I guess you found the right guy. That's me.
Imagine doing this in the street to promote your OF and pretty much show the entire internet how low value you are, then wonder, where are all the good men? In a few years, once the looks fade, and all you have is a body count of 500 and a ton of baggage due to being used and abused by Chad. It's the same story on repeat, but they never learn.
Do you want to know the major theme that I'm seeing in the divorce industry as a divorce lawyer as I do consults these days? I am seeing working moms doing it all. And I'm seeing the husbands step back and say, Hannah, I got to do a thing. She's got the kids, she's got the groceries, she's got the laundry, she's got the meals, she's got the work. And by the way, she's making all the money and she's paying for the house and doing everything else. I'm going to go to the firehouse, I'm going to go play this, I'm going to go hang out with my friends. That's the theme. And women are tired.
In today's women-centric world, men are constantly behind the 8 ball and unfortunately get destroyed by false accusations, divorce, cheating, and so on. But the tides are turning. As you saw, the slimeball divorce lawyer is pissed that he doesn't have men he can steal from. Take half of the wealth they built their entire life and give it to a woman who opened her legs. And because of men going their own way, modern women are only picking loser Chads and Tyrones to have kids with. They're the high school jock who still hung out with high schoolers 3 years after he graduated and was held back a year as well. The guy who never ended up amounting to anything because he's never had the incentive to improve himself as modern women constantly threw themselves at him all his life. They never bothered to check to see if he had any goals or if he had a stable job. They didn't care that his mom co-signed his car payments and he's avoiding the repayment man.
If you're scrolling right now and you see me, just say hi. You don't have to follow me. You don't.
I lost my virginity on this man's couch. And to this day, every time I see him, I want to be like, yo, you have no idea I f***ed on your couch. So it's just mad funny when I see his face because it's like, it was your cousin. Yeah, my shit was all over your couch and you had no idea. You probably woke up, got you some coffee, had no idea I f***ed there. No idea.
Wait.
What the f*** are you talking about?
Wait, who was the man?
Look, I can't say that because that's going to get me in some trouble, you feel me? Like, you have no idea I already f***ed your cousin and I was f***ing your crib. You got no idea. No idea.
Yeah, that's wild.
It'd always be the families. I always get put in them situations where I'm f***ing with one person and then his cousin, his brother, his friend be trying to f*** me. I'd be like, damn.
Yeah, get him some pussy.
You all cute, so all right, come on, let's go. I say it all the time. If I can't have you, I can't have you, but I like your mom. Your mom's cool as f***, so keep me in the family.
I only want you for the money and the clothes and for the bills. That's it. If you ain't getting my hair done, if you ain't getting my nails done, if you ain't doing nothing for me, then I don't need you here. It's not 50-50. It's not 80-20. It's 100% to 0.
It's one side. Look, that's why American relationships are failures. That's why American women on a global context are the worst for relationships, long-term period. That's why the divorce rate is the highest in the world here. And that's why on the desirability level, American women are at the bottom of the global barrel. This is all statistically documented from men, because at the end of the day, the ones who decide if a woman is valuable for a relationship is men.
Well, the man is the person that's going to have to, obviously, propose and buy the ring and all that stuff.
Give them the ring.
Real
exactly.
quick.
I really do believe that modern feminism encourages male absence. It encourages it because it's become toxic. They use terms like toxic masculinity, right? And I say to myself, all of their examples of the idea of what it means to be a man now is toxic. They think, oh, this is a man. Masculinity is wrong. There's something inherently wrong with being a masculine man. And to me, I always say that it was toxic masculinity that saved me. You know, I had a healthy fear of my grandfather. Nobody played around with my grandfather. We still don't play around with my grandfather, you know, and it's just, there's a certain level of respect when you're in his home. There are rules. And because I had that healthy fear, I was, I guess, more responsive to that sort of authority when I had to go out in real life. You know, I believed in structure. And yet this version of feminism today, we have women that are basically promoting men should act like women, right? And women should act like men. There's all this confusion. You can pick your gender, you can do what you want. And ultimately what I think it's doing is feeding into this idea of a breakdown of the family.
How bad did you want to come to the States? Okay, she doesn't record a lot on camera, so she continuously giggles, which is why we've tried this 5 times now. For her, I'll start off for her and then she can jump in. She didn't necessarily care about living in the United States forever. She always said that she would if it would make me happy as long as we could visit her family a lot, but she didn't actually want to live there permanently. That was not a goal or something she wanted to. I know a lot of people think Filipinas want to go to the U.S. and live there forever. No. I've never met one that actually wants to go there and stay there.
I've never met one either.
She wanted to go there on vacation to visit. What were you going to say?
Yeah, for me, it's like I went there because of you. Because I went to be.
Theories on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube that will make us question reality, y'all. I'm really loving and enjoying these videos. Thank you to all those that have sent videos over. I truly appreciate you. Add the Discord so that your video can be featured on here along with a shout out. That's all I gotta say for my intro. So let's go ahead and get into today's video. Thank you, Retro, for the next couple videos.
Let me give it a try. A conspiracy theory is only a theory until it's proven to be true. But you only see what the new spoon feeds you and only hang with sheep like you. Now, I'm not gonna say that every theory is a fact, or my opinion should only matter to me.
Right.
But don't attack somebody else because you lack the mind power to wrap it around the possibility. Let's go. You see, the world that we live in is truly f***ed up, so I don't push past anyone. I look without a biased view. I'll leave the judgment up to you because it seems like you try to troll for fun. So let me give you what you want. Shit like...
That's not like a... this was a weekend.
You've probably heard the conspiracy theory that Walt Disney's head was cut off and cryogenically frozen, so here's the whole tea about that rumor and why it even exists. The creator of Disney died in 1966 of lung, but he was always obsessed with the idea of the future and what it would look like. And he even created Epcot originally as the experimental prototype community of tomorrow to give insight of how people would live in the future.
I'd give anything to be there with you.
So as he knew his time was coming, the president of the Cryonic Society confirmed that Walt Disney called him to express interest in getting frozen and working on the details. Walt notably loved the book The Prospect of Immortality, and eerily enough, at the very end of his last message to the Disney team before he died, he said, "I hope to see you soon." 2 biographies about the man's life, printed in the 90s, say his head was frozen. And multiple former Disney employees and reporters love to tell outlets like PBS that they've broken into a basement at one of these facilities and seen his body floating in a cryogenic cylinder. There's a conspiracy theory that Disney only made the movie Frozen so that when you Google Disney and Frozen, only results about the movie come up and not his head. We actually do know the truth about this, so before I tell you, make sure you follow so you finally know the craziest conspiracy theory about each of these celebrities and request who you want to see next. His death certificate confirmed that his whole body was cremated, and the cryogenic facility said that they don't have his body.
I was gonna bring up the Frozen thing, but he already beat me to it.
Isn't it true that leading up to the 2020 election, Twitter had weekly meetings with not just the FBI, with DOJ, with DHS, with DNI, to conduct this unconstitutional censorship by surrogate? We know that because the Twitter files, correct?
Correct.
And it was not just meetings, not just censorship of stories like the Hunter Biden laptop story. We also now know that the FBI paid Twitter over $3.4 million of taxpayer funds to censor these stories before the 2020 election. Is that correct?
Correct. That money was paid. Twitter confirmed that.
And the Twitter files are just the tip of the iceberg because there's so much more. There was a corrupt revolving door at the highest levels between the FBI and Twitter. Look no further than Jim Baker, former general counsel at the FBI who helped unlawfully investigate Donald Trump in the 2016 election. Or look at Jim Comey's deputy chief of staff, who became the director of strategy at Twitter. Isn't it true, according to the Twitter files, that there were so many FBI officials who then went to work at Twitter that they created their own Slack channel and crib sheet for onboarding? The Twitter files confirm that, correct?
Correct.
Are you aware, as the American people are aware, that according to polling, of the people that were made aware of the Hunter Biden laptop story, 53% would have changed their vote, including 61% of Democrats. This is the definition of election meddling, and it's the definition of election meddling by the FBI on behalf of Democrats, paid for by the U.S. taxpayers. It's collusion, it's corruption, and it's unconstitutional. Ms. Parker, I want to go to you next about your experience at the FBI, because this is not just about the Twitter files, which folks are focused on because of the news it made. It's about a systemic rot in the culture and the politicization of the leadership of the FBI, and it needs to be rooted out. Let's take a step back. Let's look at the targeting illegally of parents who wanted to stand up for their kids at school board meetings. On September 29th, 2021, the National School Boards Association sent a letter to Joe Biden equating parents at school board meetings to domestic terrorists. And on October 4th, Attorney General Merrick Garland issued a memorandum to the FBI and U.S. attorneys that the department would use federal enforcement tools to target and prosecute these parents. Do you consider parents as domestic terrorists?
I do not consider parents as domestic terrorists. No, I do not.
No, and neither do the American people. But there's more to this story. It goes back further than that initial letter on September 29th. Because the letter didn't happen organically. It was solicited. It was solicited by the White House and by the Secretary of Education. Essentially, the Biden administration laid the predicate for which it used to justify illegally targeting the American people, targeting these parents. Is it proper protocol, as a former FBI officer, to set that predicate, to manufacture the reasoning to justify opening an investigation?
I believe that no one should be targeted for free speech and that violence should never be tolerated under any circumstance, but it should definitely not, no one should be targeted because they want to speak up at a school board meeting.
This was a setup, and it was the setup, and it's the real definition of weaponization of the government against the American people. And it's not just this example of targeting parents at School Boards Association. It goes back to the opening of Crossfire Hurricane. It goes back to the faulty FISA application. It goes back to what we heard on that first panel from Senators Grassley and Johnson. It goes back to the suppression illegally of the Hunter Biden laptop story paid for by the U.S. taxpayers. This corruption needs to be rooted out, and it's not just about protecting the U.S. Constitution. It is most importantly about protecting the American people from the weaponization of the federal government against them. Yield back.
Yield back. Thank you, DeAndre, for the video.
The powers that be are at work again.
Okay, this month just gone, January 2024, has been absolutely mad. So many people are saying this is the lemon next to the pie. This is just the beginning, so get ready. A lot of people are saying better start praying to God because this is like, you know, this is just the start. But mate, I'm telling you, we have not had a month like this since, well, I can't remember. So much destruction, terrible things happening around the world, and some really weird stuff. Today's video is going to be like UFOs, weird stuff on moons, weird skies, earthquakes, dragons. Right. And do you know what? I'm going to get this one out of the way because it's not really related to the video today, but I just wanted to show you it because this sums up how mad this video is going to be today. Okay? Right. Check this out, and please tell me what the F is going on here. Where's my cursor? Where's my cursor? Here it is. Right, here we go. What is going on here? What is going on? Oh, mate, is she pulling out his intestine or something? What is actually happening right now? This guy only came in for a root canal. What the hell is going on? Look at it. What is that in there, mate? Is it worms or something? Talking about worms, mate. Oh my god. In fact, this brings me on to something which is also crazy, all right? I don't know what that is, and I don't know what the F is going on over here, right? Check this out, please. This again happened in January this year. Where is it now? Where is it? Diddly-doo. It's raining worms in China, right? I got worms. Look. What? Let me just look into this a minute. Why is it raining worms in China? The claim video shows rain of worms in China at March 10th. The worm-like figures is in the video are plants, not animals or insects. They are likely popular tree catkins or flower clusters. Right, okay. I did think to myself, like, actually, what the F is going on here? I remember when I was a kid, if you ever don't do this, okay, because it's very dangerous, right? But when I used to go out, like, camping a lot with my brother, we used to go out shooting things. Well, he did. I didn't like shooting things. But we put a baked bean can on an open fire, right? And then what happens, after a while, it goes, like, unopened. It just goes, whoop, like an American football shape, and then after a little bit longer, when the fire like boils up inside, it just goes boom, and then about 15 seconds later, it just goes loads of beans start raining. It's crazy. But anyway, okay, debunked. Right, it's not been raining worms. All right, this here, fair enough. It's not in January. It was September, later on in the year. Okay, like a few months ago. But still, look at this. What is that? What is that? There's no sound. It's just that thing. What was that bit there? Oh, where is it? Here, what's...
Mr. Zuckerberg, what the hell were you thinking?
All right, Senator. The basic science behind that is that...
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Behavioral Arts. My name is Spidey, and I use my degree in sociology and psychology, my certifications in criminal interrogation and body language analysis, and over 10 years' experience as an award-winning mentalist to teach people behavioral analysis and practical psychology on stages and television shows all over the world. Just a few days ago, the US Senate held a hearing all about the safety of children and teens on social media. Present at the hearing were representatives for each of the 5 biggest social media companies active in the United States. More specifically, the 5 individuals who were questioned were Jason Citron, CEO of Discord, Evan Spiegel, CEO of Snap or Snapchat, Shou Chew, CEO of TikTok, Linda Yaccarino of X, formerly known as Twitter, and finally Mark Zuckerberg, who is the CEO of Meta, who owns both Facebook and Instagram. I think it would be an understatement to say that things got fiery at the hearing. Emotions were running high, patience was running low, and the body language was radiating. Part of the reason it got really emotional is because present in the room were the parents and families of children and teens who had fallen victim to crimes on social media, some of whom have suffered emotionally and physically, and some of whom are regrettably no longer with us. Now, for this analysis video, I had a lot of decisions to make. The hearing was 4 hours long. I watched it twice, and you can go to any point in this hearing and I could give you an hour-long analysis on the couple of minutes that you randomly chose. There is so much going on here with the body language, the facial expressions, the word choice, but even just the way questions are being asked and answered from an interrogation or interview standpoint. So instead of trying to cover everything vaguely, I decided to get really selective and chose a few select questions that were going to look at the entirety of the question and the answer, and all these questions focus on one of the individuals who was answering to the Senate, and that individual is Mark Zuckerberg. It seems that throughout the hearing, although they all got a lot of heat, he's the one who got the most heat and the most emotions out of the senators. And I don't know if it's because he's the one who owns the biggest social media company, so as a result, there are more crimes being done on his platforms. I don't know if it's because the Senate is a little bit more satisfied with the policies and practices of some of these other platforms, but it seems like a lot of the tension was directed at him, although nobody was immune. The other thing about Mark Zuckerberg is that historically, he has a very direct way of communicating and rarely deviates from his baseline. It's just answering questions. But in this specific hearing, there were certain moments where we definitely saw some stuff with his nonverbal communication. And I'm really excited to talk about all those things. So all that being said, let's dive right in.
Instagram recently announced that it's going to restrict all teenagers from access to eating disorder material, suicidal ideation themed material, self-harm content, and that's fantastic. That's great. What's odd, what I'm trying to understand is why it is that Instagram is only restricting, it's restricting access to sexually explicit content, but only for teens ages 13 to 15. Why not restrict it for 16 and 17-year-olds as well?
Senator, my understanding is that we don't allow sexually explicit content on the service for people of any age. How
is that going?
You know, our prevalence metrics suggest that I think it's 99% or so of the content that we remove, we're able to identify automatically using AI systems. So I think that our efforts in this, while they're not perfect, I think are industry leading. The other thing that you asked about was self-harm content, which is what we recently restricted. I think the state of the science is shifting a bit. Previously, we believed that when people were thinking about self-harm, it was important for them to be able to express that and get support. And now more of the thinking in the field is that it's just better to not show that content at all, which is why we recently moved to restrict that from showing up for those teens at all.
Okay, so believe it or not, this was actually one of the most positive exchanges between a senator and one of the CEOs. And it's a really good opportunity to see some of Mark Zuckerberg's baseline behaviors. Now, baseline behaviors are a set of behaviors that we observe on someone given a specific interaction. And we want to establish that, we want to know what that looks like, and later see when he deviates from those behaviors to see what might be going on with what he's thinking or how he's feeling. So let's talk about those behaviors. You'll notice that almost every single time he answers anything, he starts his sentence with either senator, and then he says the answer, or senator, and then he says the answer.
Senator, my understanding is that we don't allow sexually explicit content. Senator, I don't know what filing you're talking about. Senator, we support the age-appropriate content standards. Senator, it's a good question. Yes, Senator, I think we report more publicly. Senator, our tools for identifying that kind of content are industry leading. Senator, yes, we default teens into a private account.
So this is happening very consistently every time he knows how to tackle an answer, he's got it ready, and he just goes and he starts with that. I also want you to pay attention to his lips.
Let's go.
People seen it, but they just don't know. People seen it, but they just don't know. Come on, baby, let the good time roll.
I'm fresh off the block. The hustler just returned. I need. Let's go.
Welcome back, tribe. Let's get into it.
I'm tired of doing things alone.
It's never ending, huh? Look at
I've
fake tears.
been on my own for so long, and I've just been disappointed. I choose relationships that I know won't work out
Oh, the
because
sad
needing
music, dude.
someone is like it's too vulnerable for me.
So where have all the men gone? Where have all
Oh.
the real men gone? Now
All of
I'm
a
a
sudden.
stronger woman. And whoever I attract now, they're going to be so lucky to have me.
Welcome back, family. Just another day. And yet, we have another modern woman who regrets divorcing her husband when loneliness strikes hard. Let's first start by watching her breakdown in tears.
You know, that saying, it's so simple, man. You don't know what you have until you lose it. It's so evident in these people. They don't appreciate their partners. It's because of the security, the provisioning, constantly being there, melding your lives together into one. You have to be your own individual person. You have to, through whatever you do daily, like going to the gym, going to work, going shopping for whatever, grocery, hanging out with the boys, you have to separate yourself from your spouse so they can long for you a little bit, so they can realize what it's like for you not to be present every single waking second of the day, or else you stop being appreciated. This is just human nature. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. This is one of the dangers of melding your life into one when you get married or get into a relationship that's long term. Never ever forgive, or I should say forget, your individualistic nature as a person. Because once that's gone, that pedestal that you put her on is the death of your relationship.
When she gets tired of doing things alone.
So I'm sitting in my closet and I'm having lots of emotions. I haven't cried in quite some time. And a lot of emotions are coming up because
Oh my God.
I'm moving. I'm tired of doing things alone.
All could have been avoided. Just not divorce your husband.
So a lot of emotions come up because of childhood, right?
Okay.
Things that happened in your childhood and, not feeling loved, things like that. And
Having an epiphany.
I had such a hard time asking people for help because
Oh,
I've been on my own for so long.
Okay.
And I've just been disappointed
Uh-huh.
that, like, when people offer me help, I literally find it so awkward.
Okay.
Everyone thinks I'm a strong badass, but you guys, I still have my moments.
Okay.
I still struggle sometimes.
Waiting for the flip in like a week when, their emotions are just so volatile. Where the real man at? I'm a bad boss, babe. Yes.
Not every day can be perfect.
Oh, tears. Look at wiping them away. Feel bad for me. Hit the like, subscribe.
It'll be a better day tomorrow.
Okay.
I'll be in a new place.
This shit is so whack.
Here she is again, blaming her problems and failures to the modern woman's infamous childhood trauma.
Uh-huh.
When you're a person that really wasn't shown a lot of love as a kid or kindness
Bro.
or affection,
A lot of us weren't.
it's like so hard for me as an adult. And I realized that I choose relationships that I know won't work out because
Oh.
it scares me.
Bro, you see what I'm talking about? When I say vet the family, this is what I mean. You would have had an ability to peep into the childhood trauma when you meet the family, when you see how the father runs the household, if there's even a father present. Do you see what she said? I've dealt with women like this before. One of them was divorced and literally said to my face, and I've said this plenty of times on other episodes, the closer we were getting in the relationship, the more anxiety she was feeling and would self-sabotage harder and harder to break us up for the fear that the relationship would end, just like her parents divorcing, because if her parents couldn't make it, what chance did she have? So the closer and the more invested and the more vulnerable she felt, as our relationship went on, the more she needed to get away, to protect herself. That's trauma. That's emotional damage. And that's what happens that you as a man have to deal with when you get into a relationship with these kinds of women. This is why I tell you guys, man, never, ever, ever be afraid to meet the family. It's the single most important thing you can do. They can sweet talk you at dinner all day long. You can be sweet talked and they can sell you a pretend character of who they are for months on end in a relationship until you go home and meet the family and you see what they're really like. And you base her values off her father, her mother, her uncles, her aunts, sisters, brothers, everybody, man. You're vetting because that family, it doesn't even matter. That family, regardless, if you marry this woman, you have to invite them over into your life. They will be a permanent part of your life anyways. It's not just about your woman. Her family matters too, guys. You have to start when you're vetting women, you have to vet for family too. Not just a peep, deeper into red flags like this, but what kind of grandparents do you want for your children? What kind of extended family do you want for your children? What kind of mother-in-law and father-in-law do you want for yourself to deal with? This shit matters. This is going to affect your happiness long term. Judge them harshly and
Welcome back to the comment section. I'm Brett Cooper. So everyone knows the economy is suffering.
Help me, I'm poor.
That is not new information for any of us, I'm sure. Young people fresh out of college are facing the brunt of it since they have, few savings, entry-level jobs, etc. And because they were given this rosy idea of what adulthood would look like.
I don't want to grow up.
Sadly, that is just not the reality in 2024, and definitely not the reality in Biden's economy. And we see stories of these young people waking up to this reality basically every single day. I mean, they flood my TikTok For You page and my X feed, but they don't seem to be grasping what they actually need to do in order to survive and be comfortable and thrive. For example, getting roommates.
And here's the thing, it'll give us so much extra space in our room to do activities.
Because apparently everyone is against that right now, even though that is a very basic thing you should be doing if you need to save money. We're going to talk about that today. Before we do, though, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the channel if you've not already, and ring that notification bell so that you never miss a comment section episode. All right, so yet another one of these stories, one of these videos went viral yesterday, and it is a doozy. I'm so excited for you guys to watch it. You might have already seen it on Twitter, especially if you follow Matt Walsh, because he's been tweeting about it, but let's just dive in. Here it is.
Why is it that I have to work 40 hours a week just so I can have a place to live? 40 hours a week makes me $2,000 a month, and my rent is $1,660.
You make $2,000 a month, but you are paying $1,600 in rent. Does that make sense?
So I work 40 hours a week so I can have a 2-bedroom apartment and an extra $300 a month. Like, it doesn't cover my phone, internet, food, So not only do I not have any extra money, but just working makes me so exhausted that I don't have time either. Like, I get off work at 5:30.
I'm trying to be really serious here, guys, but it's so funny. Work makes me so... Welcome to the real world! Work is tiring! No matter what you do, even if you love your job, it is a job. My team is all in here giggling. I appreciate you guys, the muffled laughter coming from behind these screens.
Come home, I'm just so tired.
That's an important thing. She said she comes home and she's so tired. Remember that for later, guys.
I'm so tired that, anything that I need to do outside of work, I then just push off to, the weekend. And I'm just too tired to do this after work. I'll wait until Saturday. So then I end up with so much to do on the weekend that ends up having to be split into 2 days. So I have to do stuff on both Saturday and Sunday. So then I don't get a day off.
Whose fault is that? Sorry.
I don't get a day to relax. I don't get to decompress.
What are you doing after work? You come home at 5:30, you said? You're too tired to do anything else. So you are decompressing. That is your decompressing time between the hours of 5 and whenever you go to bed, since you don't have a side hustle. That is decompression time. That's normal.
So it is really like working 7 days a week, constantly.
And I don't want to do that anymore, right? Like, I don't care how poor and miserable I would have to be, but I literally can't have a place to live without this, you know?
If you don't want to work 5 days a week, because you're working 5 days a week and then you are wasting time and then doing things on the weekends, then get a different job, waitress 3 days a week, and find a cheaper apartment. There are ways around this.
I don't know what to do. I'm not made for this. I don't have the money, time, or energy to enjoy my life outside of work, and I don't know what to do about it anymore, you know? I'm so tired.
Now, I did feel bad laughing halfway through, and I had wanted to not do that because I think that the comments that people leave on this video are actually very helpful. And it's no fun to just trash somebody who is, going through a breakdown and is obviously struggling and tired, exhausted, emotional, whatever. But you are not in an impossible situation. That's the thing that is so mind-boggling. There are very normal, simple steps out of this situation. And I know sometimes when you're in the thick of it and it's all so hard and it seems so much you can't see that, but I promise you, find people in your life that are going to encourage you, that are going to offer you those solutions because they are there and they are so easy for you. Everything you said in this video can be solved like that. There are so many different choices that you could be making right now. I promise you. Now, just to summarize and unpack this video, because there's a lot to unpack here, she's complaining about not having enough money, but she's choosing to rent a 2-bedroom apartment. You don't need that. She works a normal 40-hour-a-week job, very manageable hours, very standard hours, but apparently that takes such a major toll on her life that she can't get anything else done. I mean, you post videos saying things like that, and then we wonder why society calls our generation lazy and entitled people. This is not really struggling in the grand scheme of the world and what society has gone through and what mankind has had to endure. This is not struggling. Somebody commented and said she needs to find a studio apartment or get a roommate. It's what we all did 20 to 30 years ago when we first started out too. What an idea. What a concept. Another person said she makes minimum wage and she's paying about as much for that 2-bedroom as I do for my mortgage. There's some kind of bad decision making going on, even though it's true that things keep getting worse by getting more god-awful expensive. Exactly. And that is important to note. Things are incredibly expensive right now. Inflation is through the roof. The rental economy is terrible. But right now, you also just can't wave a magic wand and magically fix the economy. But you are in control of your lifestyle choices and what you choose to prioritize, and that is the lesson here. Another person said, it's no coincidence that the generation indoctrinated with communism can't handle reality. Oof. Maggie from FEE, the Foundation of Economic Education.
Something terrible has happened to men in the wake of the sexual revolution.
The destruction of men in the West is the great story of the last 40 years.
Since men lost their clear identity as breadwinners in the 1960s, they've become increasingly single, alienated, and driven to self-termination. At the same time, educational and economic performance has declined.
There is a problem right now with boys and men, and one of the sources of that problem is we don't have a new script for masculinity. We've torn up the old one, the breadwinning one. We haven't replaced it.
For decades, men have needed a positive message to map a strange new world that's threatened to make them culturally redundant. But our institutions have instead contrived to discourage men from their infancy.
There's a surprising amount of hostility towards boys in this society. To put it bluntly, boys are politically incorrect.
Their play preferences are stymied in elementary school. They're taught nonstop from the time they enter school that the entire masculine enterprise is oppressively patriarchal and evil in its essence, derived as it is from power. Even the American Psychological Association apparently agrees with that now. Their idiot report on so-called toxic masculinity.
Men learn to play passive early, as tales of toxic masculinity thrive at almost every level of academia.
Public school education has become completely permeated by this kind of anti-male propaganda.
Girls experience the education system quite differently. They're trusted and supported, and sold the narrative that men enslaved women as a group throughout history. Consequently, they walk away in their early 20s, armed with the bold and empowering message that their time has finally arrived, and they readily meet the world with agency and drive.
Data points saying that women are more likely to move than men. in search of opportunity.
This
More
is
likely to
so-
go abroad, more likely to study abroad, more likely to volunteer for AmeriCorps, more likely to go for the Peace Corps, more likely to be the first to buy their own home, less likely to be living at home with their parents in their 20s.
But is it so surprising that men fail to keep pace when the message for them goes something like,
You're terrible. Your ambition is toxic. Your assertiveness makes the world a worse place. So be passive, go sit in front of a screen, consume some stuff, entertain some stuff, and be androgynous. That's the message that they send to men.
The pervasiveness of the idea that maleness is toxic and oppressive and in need of suppression has led to the normalization of misandry in the mainstream in recent years.
Hi everybody, it's Janae and I am here with a video talking about how much I hate men and why I hate men. I think men are disgusting.
We need to kill all men. I am sick of being a baby factory that produces more men that will just, in the future, subjugate me.
The Kill All Men hashtag is actually being shown all over TikTok. I think when I first looked at it, it had about 7 million views on the videos that use the hashtag Kill All Men.
The hashtag Men Are Trash has ignited a social media storm. It has split men and women even beyond the boundaries of social media.
Men are no longer men. Quite frankly, I think they're trash all over this country.
Honestly, the coronavirus isn't killing men fast enough.
This is unacceptable. Hashtag men's rights. Hashtag
Men's rights to go to war and die.
I can't even say it. Men.
At the next opportunity for any bill that's appropriate, I might actually put in an amendment to create a curfew for men on the streets after 6 p.m, which I feel would make women a lot safer. And discrimination of all kinds would be lessened.
We have to stop demonizing people and realize the biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them to the right.
Society has told men to fuck off, and many have, turning in a state of demoralization to various forms of escapism instead of meaningful pursuits. The checkout is quite alarming and can be seen everywhere, most notably of late in the data emerging from the Pew Research Center.
Nearly half of all young adults are single, 34% of women, and a whopping 63% of men.
Wow. 30% of men haven't had sex in the last year. 50% of men say that they are not looking for a relationship.
When they say aren't looking for a relationship, do they mean I'm not looking for a woman or I'm not looking for commitment?
And not actively pursuing any kind of interaction with women.
Oh shit.
Societal factors say it's not a problem. Technology anesthetizes your brain better than ever before. Economically, you likely don't have a chance in hell at buying a house or vastly outpacing any female in the workplace based on your average wages. Why bother? Just do drugs, play games.
This rapid retreat of testosterone-laden young men feels more like the premise of an eerie science fiction story than life itself. But here we are, with evidence to disprove the belief conservative men held in the 1970s that the emancipation of women would eventually lead to a Mad Max-style apocalypse where men would tear down society in response to the pain of their displacement. In reality, the opposite has happened.
As opposed to us going out with a bang, we're going out with a fizzle. And the sort of rhetoric that I hear online from men is a lot less, I'm going to go out and do something about this. It is a lot more, I'm going to retreat into me, just hold on tight, boys, the sex robots are coming soon. These are non-ironic comments that I see on the internet.
Men are lost like never before, and few seem to care as society is increasingly captured by an ideology that doesn't have their best interests at heart.
I started off thinking that this was an oversight. I thought that this is because people have overlooked something. And then I realized, no, they haven't overlooked anything. This is intentional. They intend this. This is a constructed part of our culture to demonize men and to banish men and to make men obsolescent.
Before the 1960s, no confusion existed about who men were and what they were wired to do in society.
Men are wired to provide, protect, defend, and care for women and children.
And the thing that most men did for virtually all of human history was get married, have kids, protect and defend your wife and kids. That was the role, and you were trained to do this from the time that you were a small kid.
But with the sexual revolution of the 1960s and the later expansion of the welfare state, man's place in the world, defined by hundreds of thousands of years of evolutionary history as protector and provider, was sharply interrupted. No longer so essential to women and children, and devoid of an inbuilt social role, men were forced to grapple with the meaning of manhood.
Large numbers of men were feeling a need for a map and guidance for how to be a man in a new world.
But an inspiring vision for men's role in the new world never arrived. Instead, an insidious war on men was initiated after radical intellectuals invaded the education system in the 1960s and 70s.
A lot of radicals that came out of the late 60s, 70s went into the universities. It was the one institution that you could take your radical politics and find a home there. They were more radical than the liberal professors who hired them. As the older scholars retired,
Well, it's a new year, but it's the same old MCU. Look, I have been very vocal about my disdain toward the MCU in the past couple of years. As a massive fan, by the time Endgame rolled around, I've slowly had my taste in the MCU soured with bad movies and bad shows, and the overall lack of direction of the entire cinematic universe. 2023 marked a year of all new lows for the MCU, setting unwanted box office records for the comic book behemoth, and whilst they do show occasionally that they are still capable of pulling off something that's actually good, such as Guardians of the Galaxy 3 or Loki Season 2, the lows are drastically starting to outweigh the highs. Well, like I said, it's a new year, and it seems like we've just hit another low on the MCU slate. For some reason, Kevin Feige thought it would be a good idea to give the character Maya Lopez, or Echo, her own show. Despite being a character that kind of just existed in the rather underwhelming Hawkeye series back in 2021. And strangely enough, they decided that they were going to drop the entire series all at once in an MCU first. And I binged through the entire thing in one night, and I have thoughts. A lot of them. Because this to me just highlights that the MCU has just lost it. Whilst the show isn't a travesty like She-Hulk, it's another big Marvel misfire. So in this video, we're going to dive deep into why that is, and why the MCU just seemingly keeps getting worse, and where do we go from here? Just before we do though, I quickly just want to mention that we have posted a new video on The Last of Us on our Game Overload channel. It's a nearly 40-minute long video essay on the game, and there is plenty more to come on that channel. So a big thank you to everyone that's shown support as we expand this channel across other niches. So yeah, be sure to check it out in the top right corner of your screen.
This video is brought to you by Incogni. Why aren't you famous yet? You've had every opportunity to do so why haven't you done it? I want you to stop for a second and think of all the things you could do, all the things you could be. Nothing is stopping you from being the next Mr. Beast, Bella Porch, PewDiePie. So why haven't you gotten around to it? Do you ever feel guilty that you haven't done this yet? Do you ever feel like you're wasting your life? If you were to abolish this guilt, how would you do it? Would you forego a night out this weekend to hustle and grind? Would you limit your social interactions to plan your content creation strategy? Would you carry a camera everywhere you go, always being ready to produce content and build a personal brand? Or, just maybe, you could not play the game at all. To abolish your guilt by refusing to take place in the system that's causing it. By the end of this video, you'll find out why content creation is slavery, how this affects everyone, and what we can do about it. Hi, and welcome back to a day in my life as a 25-year-old content creator based out of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Now, we're an anti-alarm household as they're toxic, so I sort of wake up whenever I feel like it. Are you kidding me? I'm still here? Then I set up my tripod so I can film myself getting out of bed for this TikTok you're watching right now. The race to the bottom of the brainstem. This is what former Google employee and
I'm 39 years old, so I'm over 25 and I hit the wall already. I'm educated, I'm masculine, I'm a strong black woman who don't need no man, right? I'm literally all of these things. I'm not having anybody's baby. I'm not finna be somebody's wife, aka slave, right? I'm not finna clock out of my job and then come home to a second job of being a wife and a mother. I'm telling you this from the gate. And y'all are still bothering me. You're still in my comment sections of my videos. You're still in my DMs. And for those who don't know this, the vast majority of the men that are in our DMs, women like me, are married. It's y'all's husbands, right? But the thing that I don't understand about the rest of you guys is you guys say you want these submissive as women, right? You want these dumb as a box of rocks, no goals, no ambition, somebody's going to be traditional and stay at home type of women. Why don't y'all just go bother them? What do we have to do to get y'all to go away?
Who's been bothering this woman, man? Leave her alone. She doesn't want to be disturbed, okay? She compared being a wife to being a slave. She compared being traditional to being dumb. Leave her alone. These type of women, just let them wallow away in their corner of the internet. I've been seeing a lot of men try to engage with these women and tell them to get married and all that stuff. Just let them be.
So we've all been seeing these little wedding videos where these husbands are just blatantly disrespecting their wives on their wedding day. I don't even know why you guys are uploading shit like this to the internet, because if my husband even did half of the things that y'all's husbands are doing on video, I would keep that shit in a personal stash, especially if I still stick with him. I wouldn't let nobody see that shit. Like, why are y'all uploading that shit to the world? It's really sad to watch. So I seen one where they're supposed to be reading their vows, and it's time for him to read his vows. Now, she read her vows. It was beautiful, sincere. You could tell she loved her husband. Now it's his turn. So the pastor's like, go ahead with your vows. And this man says, I promise to smack that ass every chance that he gets. And he got quiet. That was the end of the vows. Everybody's laughing. She's laughing. And the pastor is not laughing. You could tell that the pastor is like, are you serious right now? The pastor is even begging your husband to say something sweet, something nice about you. So the pastor is begging him, like, please, just say something nice about the woman you got down on your knees to propose to. This man looks his wife dead in her eyes and says, I promise to drive you insane. Sometimes I really do wonder what happened to some of you women in life for y'all to have such low self-esteem that you will sit there and laugh at somebody who's blatantly disrespecting you. There is no way that I would be sitting there on my wedding day and my husband says something like that and I'm this shit gotta be studied. The way that y'all will allow a man just to do anything to you, just to say you got a man, is gotta be studied, because baby, I would be single and childless for the rest of my life before I go through anything that y'all are going through with these men. Like, it don't even be worth it. Y'all don't even be getting nothing good out of it. So for me to sit there and be giggling about disrespect is something that I would never do. Y'all better than me. That's why I'm single and y'all are married. Damn right.
That's why you're single? Because you've seen a couple of videos of men not taking their vows seriously, or you've seen a couple of videos of unserious men. That's why you're single? I seen one too. I seen one, I couldn't believe it. It was a wedding ceremony. She said her vows. It's time for him to say his vows. He said like 2 lines. He was like, oh shit, I ain't got nothing else. I was befuddled. Because let me guess, in your mind, that's how 90%.
I've got a new question for you guys. Why do you think guys no longer want to get married?
Ooh, I don't think we're ready for that conversation. See, I've been happily married for about 8 years. Actually, we've been married that long, we've never even had a fight. I am a huge advocate for marriage. But here's the problem. There's a lot of reasons why people aren't getting married nowadays. And it's not just because men don't want to get married. 1, we have devalued marriage. When everyone thinks they have to move in together, date somebody for 6 years, and do all these different things before you even might consider marrying somebody, you have devalued marriage. Basically, let me take it out for a test drive before I make a commitment. So let me live with you for a while before I even make a decision. Well, then you have all the benefits of being married, living together without the actual covenant, without the actual promise with each other. 2, when it comes to divorces or things that might happen, you know, the risk of being married, oftentimes the courts side with the woman when it comes to child custody and things like that. Now, granted, nowadays it seems like they're getting a little bit better about shared custody, but generally speaking, it doesn't go in the man's favor. 3, we tell people all the time now that they shouldn't get married early in life. You know, oh, you know, you're 20 years old, 22, you're too early to get married. You know, live your life and enjoy it. Which implies that you won't enjoy life afterwards if you get married. So a lot of people live until they're about 30 or whatever, and single or just dating casually, might have some kids with some people, and they go, well, you know, life's been pretty good up to this point, why get married? Because we really have become more career focused than family focused now. We have also become very self-focused as a selfish culture. You know, do what makes you happy. Not realizing that if you get in a marriage, you are committed to somebody else. And when you are committed to somebody else, you serve that other person selflessly. And actually, in a way, that actually becomes more fulfilling than if you weren't and you're only living for yourself. So the culture just keeps doing this, and we keep promulgating it. And again, if you want people to get married, men, you have to value women more than just for someone to have fun with and hook up with or whatever. Women, if you want men to value you in marriage, then don't give up all the stuff that a man is supposed to earn in marriage. You know, sex, living with you, all the benefits of living and doing the thing together. Those are valuable. I know this is unpopular nowadays. I know it's extremely unpopular nowadays. But that's the reality. There's a reason why in the golden age of America, essentially, you have couples that were married at an extremely early age and were married for 60 plus years. Nowadays, marriages end in only a few, and that's because we don't value each other, we don't value marriage, and we're not telling people to live selflessly. So I think there's a lot of reasons for it, but I think those are some of the big ones. We have devalued marriage, and therefore we have devalued men and women.
The prevailing advice suggests that successful men should avoid marriage due to potential risks in divorce, while those at the lower end can't afford potential losses. There's a belief that pursuing women may lead to unfavorable outcomes, as women, despite expressing a desire for attention, may lose interest when given what they say they want. Despite approximately 50% of individuals aged 18 to 29 being single, around 80% of women claim to be physically active. The call is to introspect and understand the reasons for being single, urging a shift away from excessive attention-giving or simping. Divorces, often viewed as detrimental, particularly affect men in family courts. While dual custody is becoming more common, experiences in law firms highlight the challenges. Many family law attorneys face personal struggles, contributing to a growing reluctance among bachelors in the U.S. to engage in relationships and marriage. Court proceedings expose unsettling aspects, especially when clients run out of financial resources during divorce and custody battles. This applies similarly to private security concerns when dealing with the actions of a contentious ex-wife. The complexities of legal battles and the emotional toll they take contribute to a growing apprehension about committing to relationships and marriage among unmarried men in the United States. The dating landscape has undergone a transformative shift over the years, and the emergence of COVID-19 has further accelerated these changes. The pandemic forced people into isolation, restricting real-world interactions and pushing individuals to adapt to a more virtual form of connection. During lockdowns, there were instances of innovative interpersonal communication, such as people interacting across apartment buildings through windows and roofs. Notably, a video surfaced where a man used a drone to send messages to a girl on a roof,